Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on... It's Persephone! One of the best map names in a very long time. Now spawning right here in the top left hand corner, playing with the blue Protoss pieces, we have none other than Creator. And his opponent down in the bottom left with the red Terran as CVs, he goes by the name of ByuN. I don't know why I like the name Persephone. It's just a cool word to me, okay? Certainly miles better than Maganatha. Anyway, let's see. What exactly are we gonna go ahead and do in this particular game? Lately, ByuN apparently has been fond of a lot of those SCV pools. Just good old triple Rex, mass SCV and Marine and go across the map. Try to murder the Protoss player before he can lay eggs. Turns out Protoss players lay eggs. I know. Blew my mind as well. I thought they I don't know, they're not mammals. Do you think they photosynthesize? How do you guys live? Maybe a probe is entirely robotic. I don't know. No way to know, really. Alien technology is crazy. Honestly, the fact that a lot of the units walk around on 2 legs or 4 legs is pretty wild too. You'd imagine if they developed entirely separate from humans and Zergs and all that they would be wildly different, but... I guess they have teleportation technology. That's pretty cool. So there's definitely a guy inside of the SCV, right? We've seen that in many of the official Blizzard artwork. Where you have a guy smoking a cigarette or whatever, hanging out inside of the SCV. There's somebody in there. Much like there must always be a guy inside of the missile turret, there must always be a guy inside of the SCV suit. Maybe probes are entirely automatic. Maybe these are completely robotic, I have no idea. Anyway. I just saw a post on the StarCraft subreddit, map makers molding over this particular thing. So map makers, for years now, have been putting little indicators. Okay, that's a bad example. They've been putting little indicators of where your nexus should be. Or for example, what the middle of a pillar is if you try to hide an overlord up there. They've also, over the last bunch of years, been adding little indicators for where your first pylon should go. Now, they don't have to do this, but it's kind of cool, right? It's kind of nice. If you're kind of struggling with walling off, it's one way to... but it doesn't really matter too much in this matchup, but I always do find it very funny whenever map makers put in a lot of effort and the pro gamers are just like, nope, don't care. I am going to build my pylon right next to that little spot. Mostly a problem, though, in Zerg versus Protoss. I don't think ByuN is going to make a whole lot of Zerglings to try and run by with in this particular series, but who knows. Now, this is going to be a good old command center on the low ground here into a straight 1-1-1 here for ByuN. So, nothing all too odd. Certainly not going to be an SCV pool or anything along those lines this time around. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we did have a quick sentry. So this is a Stalker into sentry build. And the nice thing, of course, about this is that you can energy recharge the sentry repeatedly. That's that ability that got added to the Nexus at the end of last year. And then you can fly little hallucinations towards the other side of the map. Fun fact, if you hallucinate probes, you get 4. We haven't really seen anybody use that to fake economy or anything along those lines. But maybe that's the next strat, you know? You hallucinate the sentry. And then you energy recharge the sentry. And then you, it's a very brave sentry here. You fake more economy than you actually have. Big Marine drop in the main base though, and the medevac does go down. It's difficult, of course, to keep alive, but in this kind of instance, you really should not be losing the medevac just like that. ByuN decides to settle for maximum damage. Kills 3 probes, but... yeah, immediately, Creator is going to celebrate with a nice and quick 3rd base. Cyclone was still hanging out. Well, easily killed when there's an Immortal nearby. Okay, so, barracks number 2 and 3 right now coming up, rather than a 3rd command center. So, no 3rd CC here for ByuN just yet. It does mean that he's going to be able to make an awful lot of units. But economy allows you to make even more units. I know. It's crazy. After now playing a lot of Warcraft 3 over the last, I don't know, like month and a half or so. In Warcraft 3, you don't really need that many bases. Having 3 bases in Warcraft 3 is basically unheard of. Having only 3 bases in StarCraft, though. Ooh, nice targeting, actually. Oh, jeez. The big toe of the Stalker is just barely outside of that liberation zone that time around, but that was still extremely good. 2 Stalkers and 5 probes for a single lib. I don't think Creator can say that he's pwned the libs now. I think he took too much damage in the process. Now, he is going to follow this up here with the good old High Templar research. Storm is going to be his next weapon of choice. And the Immortal, look at that. Don't know why the Immortal is here. I mean, sure, it killed a Cyclone, but... Immortals are really good at killing armored units. I don't really know why we decided to... It's very risky too, by the way. I mean, I guess it's reasonably okay to assume that there won't be a whole lot of Vikings out, but losing a prison with the Immortal inside of it? Ugh. A little bit painful. Little bit much. Anyway, it made its way safely back home, and even though it didn't really contribute a whole lot, a couple SCVs were killed. Medevacs decide to very ambitiously boost around the edge of the main. He decides to back up now. Storm, just seconds away from finishing now, and it is indeed finished. It is indeed done. Observer. Creator sees exactly where this army is coming from. There is 1 High Templar, I would imagine. Yes, inside of this prism. Happy storms. Okay. Finally, a 3rd command center begins. But this is, of course, extremely late. And at this point, Creator has been able to do whatever he likes. I wouldn't be surprised if he builds up a 4th Nexus. I would imagine he goes for the one over here. Top right is a little bit tricky. But he's got an awful lot of army. And he should have enough at least to keep this Terran player at bay. Yep. More storms, more damage. Ghost Academy coming up right now. Now, normally you don't really go for a Ghost Academy until you have about 3 bases saturated. At this point, because of the way that ByuN started off this game, he doesn't yet have a 3rd base done, so he's just kind of awkwardly making it. Problem is that ghosts are quite expensive. Not only in supply, but also in minerals and in gas. They have a lot of tech requirements, and not very easy to add them into the mix. But when you're playing against, well, this type of army, right? Like Archons and a bunch of Stormy boys, it's very difficult for Protoss to actually, or for Terran rather, to actually fight it without any of those Templar. Or without any of the ghosts. You need to counter the Templar ASAP. I think building the Nexus up here is not the way to go. So these speed up circles on the right side of Persephone are very dangerous. Well, ByuN is also anticipating that there would be a 4th. Since there is not, I guess any dancing over here will be okay. Now that is lovely. He trapped a bunch of units and then stormed them. Medevacs swooped in, took a bit of hull damage, but nothing all too crazy. He now has recognized, though, the timing of the 3rd base here of the Terran. A couple SCVs are going to die. 3, 4, 5. Okay. 6. You know what? Yeah, 7. That Zealot had a taste for blood. He needed to be put down, because you never know what's going to happen otherwise. Cybercorp being remade, and then also a Robo facility. Stalkers dancing here on the speed-up circles on the right side of this map. So basically, the entire right side of Persephone is massive speed circles. You can get units in and out of this location very, very rapidly. This 4th Nexus feels quite late to me, though. Creator had all the time in the world to start it up. He did eventually begin it. But despite Terran not really building up a whole lot of eco initially, all of this feels quite slow to me. Like right now, ByuN is caught up quite nicely here, right? Like he had a major income advantage here, Creator that is. Now ByuN has done a good job. Maybe a bit too passive here from Creator. Maybe he anticipated some sort of mass move out as well. Even though the third command center was late, it is ultimately here. And if Protoss does not really use that time to their advantage, well, you don't get a whole lot of advantage out of it. So, let's see. Double Robo right now added in addition to the one that he already had. So he's going triple Robo. And rather than going full Gateway style, I guess we're going full Robo instead. Triple Robo is a lot, though. Remember like a year or two ago when Protoss players used to go mass disruptor in the late game? They would build like 5, sometimes even like 6 Robo facilities. And they would just start pumping those troops out one at a time. It was pretty fun, actually. I liked it. They ended up nerfing that style quite a bit, because it did look a bit silly. But it was a very interesting late game transition that I don't think it was really... Like, it wasn't too strong. I don't think it was too strong. It just kind of preemptively nerfed it in my mind. But anyways. Nice little Zealot run by over here, though. Yeah, he's built a pylon. I was wondering where those units were coming from. Not using a prism to quickly get those troops across the map, but a good old pylon. Fair enough. Warped them in. Sent them straight into the mineral line. I mean, fighting him in the exact same spot twice is a... Like, he's like, well, I guess I'll send more Zealots. It's very obvious now, though, that there is a pylon. Yeah. And ByuN is going to check. 15 SCVs, though, for a bunch of Zealots like that is not bad whatsoever. +3, +2 coming up for Protoss. We do have a third Robo, and there it is. So he's making 2 Immortals and then a single Colossus at the same time. Mass Robo Protoss armies. Now he's maxed. ByuN is also maxed though, so he decides to celebrate by making a second starport. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes into a fusion core in a moment. Liberators are, of course, still the preferred weapon of choice. +1 air attacks coming up as well. Good blink right there by Creator. He's got a lot of Immortals, by the way. He does know that they're not actually immortal, right? He's got 6 Immortals. Let's see. Look at his army. Hell of an army here from Creator. Colossi, Archons, Zealots. He's got a little bit of everything, but mostly big, beefy units. Great fight so far, though, for ByuN. Using those Colossi as the main target for his Vikings. In the meantime, the Immortals and the Marauders are having a little shuffle, and obviously those fights are always going to be won by the Immortals. ByuN does have the Defender's advantage here, so all of his troops are spawning close to the battle. 4th Command Center, in the meantime, has grown a little planetary fortress on top of itself. Creator has made another base as well, and we're going back into Colossus production. Okay. So that was almost like a bit of a wash between the armies. Yeah. Considering Creator has a slight economic advantage, I guess that works out well in his favor. But generally, it's quite uncommon to be losing that many expensive Robo units and then call it an advantage. Generally, those Robo facility units take a long time to build, but when you have 3 Robo, you can build them up once more. And he's using this time right now that he's created for himself to build up the Nexus over at the 3 o'clock position. So the good old golden mineral line on Persephone once more coming in. Super easy though for ByuN to be aggressive there. I love these Widow Mines. Oh, very efficient. Still, the mines died because the Stalkers were nearby. Doesn't yet have all of the researches done. Gravitic Drive, that is the speed boost improvement for the Warp Prism. 3-3 in the meantime has also been started up for ByuN. Okay. Bunch of Vikings, once more finding an opportunity here. Stalkers in the meantime trying to see if they can pick those Vikings off. Colossi have to run away. We're going into more Colossi production though. Dark Shrine has also begun. The Stalkers and the Zealots are just really here to round out the unit comp. Very fun to see. ByuN is taking a lot of damage here. Those Immortals are so beefy. He needs to be careful. Oh, hello. Stalker sleeping on the job. He needs to be careful that he doesn't accidentally overextend. I would love to, in the meantime, also see a Zealot run by. inside of the main base or over at that... Well, I guess this is a planetary, not really easily done, but just some sort of distraction. Because if ByuN can focus all of his attention on this main fight, I think he can defend it. 5 ghosts, by the way, on the production tab too. He's already got quite a few. Colossus number 1 in this fight is going to die. The rest of the Protoss army, though, is looking extremely menacing. Stalkers need to try and see if they can get underneath those Vikings. ByuN doing a great job targeting it down. He's now forced to pull the boys away. An absolute bloodbath here on Persephone. And even though a lot of SCVs are giving their lives, I believe he does have enough to push this Protoss army home once more. Now that was expensive, though. That was very, very, very expensive for the South Korean Terran player. Income advantage is going to look pretty good until maybe some of those mules start returning some resources, but ByuN needs to get a move on now. He does have 3-3 just seconds away from finishing. It's going to make this army way better. Ooh, High Templar going in through the circle. Yeah, now he realizes that there is also a third base, or a 3 o'clock base rather, using the healing circle here. The top is units off. We don't see the Zelnaga tower being used all too frequently here, but the healing circle is very nice. You know what? You can kite against these troops with relative ease. We're once more building up to 5 Colossi. This is almost like Protoss MECH, right? Like rather than full, I don't know, Protoss Bio, like Marine Marauder, Mass Stalker Zealot type of armies. Rather than full Gateway Men, we're going full, yeah, Protoss MECH here. It's kind of amazing. I really like this mass robo shenanigans. I don't know if it's any good. Like, I'm not convinced that it's amazing, but it's... it looks cool. That is the main qualification for what I'm looking for, okay? Does it visually look nice? Man, I'm such a vain person. That's apparently all I care about as a StarCraft commentator. Do we get cool lasers and explosions on the screen? If yes, Lowko likes it. Well, this base is gonna have to get on out of here this time around, though, because the Colossi... oh my god, Colossi, dude. Look at them having a grand old time shooting lasers. They're terrified of the man in the missile turret. Admittedly, who wouldn't be? They decide to back up. He, by the way, did get very quick storm research in this game. He hasn't really used it that much. He has forced out mass ghost production because of all of it. Yeah, we have seen a bunch of storms, I guess, but against this many Colossi, you don't really need a million ghosts. ByuN has flown his old main base, the command center that he began the game with, up towards this particular expansion over here, so he can continuously mine. ByuN has not really remade a lot of those SCVs that he's lost, so his army at this point is massive. 147 army supply right now for ByuN, versus 126 for Protoss. Creator needs to be careful, but he's fishing. He's fishing for a lucky strike. Maybe that's what the Disruptors can bring him. Oh, it's a very disjointed engagement. Creator looking for the perfect opportunity to send in all of the units. I'm a little afraid, though, that at this point he's going to pull the trigger a little bit too late. My god, is he being patient. A lot of the Vikings are working away at the Colossi. Creator's army, most of it has died before the fight even really began. That was a good purification Nova, but ultimately so many of those Terran troops are still around. Great fight right there for ByuN. I don't think he really could have hoped for a lot more. Even gets the Disruptor from the high ground, too. I feel like Creator should have just all army hotkeyed and moved in there. Like, about 10 seconds earlier. He decided to be extremely patient, but then the Vikings just sort of killed the Colossi before the engagement really started. Great targeting right there by ByuN. Makes sense to now go for this expansion over here on the right. But that was a major mess up. Oh my god, the army units are so quick with Stimpeg. That was a major screw up right there by the Protoss player, who had honestly been playing a really solid game up until that point. ByuN only needs one fight like that, though. Still, a lot of the Terran troops are low in HP. He's going to use the healing circle again to try and continuously stim this fight. Oh my god, the healing circle coming in clutch. He wants to kill that 3 o'clock base badly. New Colossus is now available. I like the split right here on these Terran units, mitigating some of that splash damage. One of the ghosts does get chipped right there in the Purification Nova. Colossus, though, has no backup, and it does indeed end up going down. Alright, this ghost is ready to repair, or replace, rather, the one that just died. This has now become an extremely scrappy game. Income, though, still, well, at an advantage here for Creator. This is really the first time I've seen a high-level player make active use of the Healing Shrine. Obviously, some players have been using it here and there, but now it seems an integral part of the strategy here for ByuN. The only reason why he can sustain this engagement towards this golden base, yeah, he's just pushing through. This Disruptor is waiting for another charge, but it takes a bit before that Nova is once more off cooldown. Protoss units get warped in the middle of the fight, but ByuN kills them before they can even fully spawn in. GG is cold, and that means that Terran wins game number 1. Okay. Next up, we find ourselves on ley lines. ByuN's looking around to see if there's any shenanigans building on his side of the map. Second pylon, though, was good old, yeah, this one right over here. Made in such a spot that it can defend the natural. So, nothing that ByuN needs to worry about, but he apparently is feeling like maybe there could be something odd out there. Usually it's the player that is leading the series that's the aggressor with cheese. But I guess ByuN must have, well, he must have had some recent experiences where, maybe specifically against Creator, where that is not entirely true. Here we go again. Creator loves the Robo facility. It is interesting. Most players don't go for a quick Robo facility, and they don't usually go for triple, quadruple Robo facility either. Creator was just pumping out more and more troops. And honestly, I think it was working really nicely. Until he just didn't attack move with his entire army. There was that weird moment at his 5th base where I feel like he was just waiting for the perfect opportunity to select his entire force and then collapse on top of the Terran army in one fell swoop, but he just waited a little bit too long and then the fight just looked super awkward. Anyway, Reapers. They're joining the Hellions and they're ready to put in a little bit of work. Some attempted body blocking here, but a good force field. Another thing that those quick sentry builds are very good at. Okay, so at this point, has ByuN seen anything? He did see the Robo facility, so that's good. When you see the Robo facility like this, you at least know that it's not going to be a super quick blink. It's not going to be any sort of Stargate opener at all. So he can use that information to his advantage. Now he decides to go Banshees, not Cloak. So I guess just a singular Banshee. Maybe a second one too, eventually, but... yeah, makes sense. There will, of course, be observers out. And even though they might be on the other side of the map and they are quite slow, it makes sense that you don't really commit too much into a Cloak research here. Okay. Ooh, charge first. Third Nexus has been started, but not enough firepower here in those units. Once upon a time, Reapers used to throw grenades at structures. And that grenade has now been replaced to that active ability, but that grenade would have absolutely killed this Nexus. Here's the Banshee, though, ready to put in a bit of work. What exactly is Terran up to at this point in the game, though? Yeah, so once more, a very late 3rd command center. We're adding on additional barracks production instead. Not opting to go for fast eco at all. Instead, we're just trying to deal as much damage here as possible in the first minutes of the match. Stalker's having a grand old time. Banshee decides to go back home. Easy defense there for Creator. He's got some Stalkers focused on the main base too. 2 detectors are chasing each other around. How cute is that? Can you see me? I can see you! This is my cats trying to figure out what bugs do. They're like, ooh, you have pretty wings. What are you? Gotta make sure you stick your nose as close to the object you're trying to study as possible. That's what I've learned from my cats. How are you gonna sniff them if you can't, you know, put your nose... Aw, man. I thought this was just like biology research or something. Turns out he was just trying to kill the observer instead. Banshee in the meantime did try to jump in, but it didn't get any damage done. Good old Storm once more. Stimpack. Combat shields. +1 infantry. Okay. We're settling in for a rather passive beginning for this particular match. We've had a little bit of poking here and there. Players attempting to get real damage done, but so far, all of this is negligible. It will come down to the big fights. Now, Stimpack is going to finish up quite a bit before Storm. So Storm is still only about halfway done. But Terran hasn't really been moving out yet. He's waiting maybe until the +1 and the combat shields are a little bit closer to finishing. But of course, that also means that he's going to be facing off against whatever Protoss has been cooking up. And in this matchup, it is very much so up to Terran to do the first engagement like this. And it's very much so up to Protoss to try and defend whatever the attack is going to be like. Now, usually it is something exactly like this. A combination of whatever was made in the early game with Marines, siege tanks, maybe Widow Mines like in this case. I mean, he's got Storm. He's got Charge. He's going into a Robo Bay right now too. I mean, he should have all the tools to defend this. This is a very ambitious third command center. I think hitting that, yeah, these Zealots, I love those Zealots here. What about the Storm over here at the front? Boom! Boom! One more? He doesn't need one more. So ByuN lost the CC over at the third base. And then while he was trying to deal with those Zealots, he took huge storms to the face. And yeah, even though it's still at 110 supply, he's finding himself significantly behind economically now. All right, and that means that this series comes down to Tokamak. An early GG for ByuN, for sure. Now, this is from a smaller weekly tournament. It's actually one of the earlier rounds of the event, so maybe ByuN was thinking, yo, it doesn't really matter that much. Can imagine, though, if that was a match for $1 million, he would have stuck it out for a little bit longer. Certainly an early GG. Can't really blame him, though. When you lose the third command center like that, and you get your entire army, like essentially the entire attack you've been building up the entire game long, when you get your army wiped off the map too, even though a lot of the units were still sort of around at low HP, you just don't have anything going for you anymore. You don't have any tech, you don't really have any economy, you don't really have any army. So what do? Well, two options. Either you try to claw your way back into the match. Maybe your opponent makes a mistake, who knows? Or you GG out. Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, even though Creator has been a robotics facility connoisseur so far in this particular series, this time around we're going into the Twilight Council and good old Blink. This is the most stock standard way to open up in this matchup. Whoa! There's a hybrid over here in the bottom right-hand corner of Tokamak. What now? Okay. Is this how fusion reactors work? Because Tokamaks are part of a fusion reactor, right? Maybe this is how they're all powered. Who knows? Is there one on the other side of the map too? Oh, yeah. Mirrored hybrids. And apparently a lightning glitch right over here on the rock tower. Sick. Love to see that. Okay. Yeah, it isn't even gonna be a Blink. So, a Robo facility was made on the back of this. Creator has also walled himself off fully. Only 2 gateways, though. And I'm assuming we're gonna be seeing a third Nexus in a moment. Yep, there it is. Ooh, ByuN. He might just get lucky. Do you unload over here?
Additional supply depots required.
He's up all night to good... Yeah, he's just up all night to try and kill Nexi. And this is gonna hurt. With only 2... Ooh, nice snipey right there. With only 2 of those gateways available, there's just not a lot of unit production. So delaying this... Oh, God. Delaying all of this is extremely good for ByuN. He decides to leave the Widow Mine behind as well as a little gift. Adept decides to sacrifice itself for the greater good. And finally, the Nexus will now begin, but that was with more than 1,000 minerals in the bank. Remember that mission in, I think this is the Legacy of the Void campaign. Or maybe it's Heart of the Swarm. I think it's Heart of the Swarm, actually. Where you have the two... Well, you have Terran, and then you have the hybrid shooting lasers and stuff at each other. You have this, like, laser beam that you have to control throughout the match. Maybe we can have some of that, too, in this map. You go AFK, and suddenly you come back after, like, 5 years of not watching any StarCraft 2, and every single map has, like, a PvE characteristic. There's like laser fields and like maybe like an obstacle course that you have to run through. I mean, the maps are sort of headed in that direction, although it's at this rate going to take another couple decades. We have seen a lot more free-flowing maps as of late. I don't remember. Is it Kerrigan versus Terran or is it a hybrid? In my defense, though, I have only played all the StarCraft 2 campaigns about 6, 7, 8 times. Wings of Liberty, probably more like 24 times. So, you know, you can't really expect me to fully understand the ins and outs of every mission. Anyway, big attack coming in right here for ByuN. And obviously the third Nexus was delayed, so everything Creator is doing here feels very messy. Excellent push, of course, by ByuN, who's just showing up with this... Well, this is a bit of a funky army, because he doesn't have any upgrades on them. No Stimpak, no combat shields, no +1. Just a bunch of dudes with guns. Turns out guns are good. Yeah. And that's the second time now that the third Nexus goes down. It is going to severely hamstring whatever Creator wants to do next. And this is one of the downsides of playing Protoss in this matchup. Yeah, you can technically play a phenomenal game, but when you lose your income a bunch of times, there's very few ways to get back into it. That was also not a good snipe right there on those siege tanks. I mean, he killed the tanks, but he lost basically everything in the process. Immortal also not living up to its name. Stimpak, by the way, did finish up. Turns out these guys had the Stimpaks in their, I don't know, back pocket or something this entire time. They also have a shield hiding somewhere. Nobody knows where it is. They could be pulling it out right now and get 10 additional HP, but apparently the research needs to be done first. Yeah, excellently played right here by ByuN. So he got across the map, he saw an opportunity, and then he grabbed it with both hands. Creator is now awkwardly trying to remake the third Nexus for a third time. ByuN at this point, though, is making his own third command center. You can wait with Stalkers on the high ground, man, but this is not minute 5 anymore. We now have massive Terran armies running around. Well, massive-ish. That was not massive with 6 ace. Zealot's trying to charge around, but I think there's just not enough numbers here. Like, Creator is getting overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff that ByuN is able to muster up right now. Prism itself in a world of trouble. Creator, though, trying to see if maybe he can juggle some of those units. You can obviously get a lot more value if you have a Prism available, but sometimes this is all it takes. You get across the map, and you see a Nexus being planted down right as your medevac flies by. You decide to go back, unload the medevac, gun down whatever you can kill, and if you can force a cancel on the third Nexus, it slows down Protoss tremendously. GG.